They were quick to attribute his issues to simply getting older, decreased blood flow, and diminished performance. "That's just par for the course after hitting 60, the doctor nonchalantly stated. Yet, 3 months later, he found himself in the emergency room, facing what appeared to be a heart attack. As it turned out, it wasn't his heart, but rather compromised blood vessels in another area. No one had informed him that inadequate circulation could impact far more than just his legs or chest. It can stealthily undermine your intimacy, self-esteem, and your bond with your partner. Hello, I'm Dr. James. With over 3 decades of experience aiding men in reclaiming their health vitality, and yes, their closeness, I've assisted thousands of men over the age of 60, and I can say this with confidence. Aging isn't the issue. What truly matters is the topic that often remains unspoken, along with how straightforward adjustments can make a difference. Many individuals regard baking soda merely as a cleaning agent or an ingredient for baking. However, when utilized correctly, as I'm about to demonstrate, it can significantly enhance blood circulation, arterial elasticity, and nitric oxide levels. Indeed, that common item in your kitchen may just hold the key to feeling rejuvenated and reconnected in your intimate life. And rest assured, I won't bombard you with medical terminology. I'll carefully explain how it functions, why it's beneficial, and the correct ways to use it. Just a heads up though, improper usage could have adverse effects, particularly at our age. So stick with me as shortly, I will reveal the method that has been subtly transforming the lives of men over 60 nationwide. Before we proceed, if this type of actionable health advice resonates with you, I encourage you to subscribe and activate notifications. This way you won't miss any tips aimed at helping you feel stronger, more connected, and in command of your well-being. And if you're finding this information valuable, please type 1 in the comments. If not, type 0. Your input helps me enhance this content for you. Let's address a reality that many men over 60 rarely hear from their physicians, and it's having a greater impact than they might think. The subtle decrease in blood flow that starts in your 50s does more than just drain your energy. It gradually undermines your strength, mood, and intimacy with your partner. It may debut with minor symptoms like cold hands and feet feeling winded faster, or a decreased interest in intimacy. Yet as time goes by, these issues accumulate, and if you overlook them, they can escalate into more significant health problems. One widespread challenge for men over 60 is inadequate blood circulation. I recall a patient named Walter, who was 68, a retiree, and had been married for over 4 decades. He visited my office not concerning heart problems or intimate issues, but simply remarked, "Doc, I don't feel like myself anymore." Even in the summer, his hands were persistently cold. He was going to bed earlier each night, and though he didn't articulate it immediately, I could tell he was burdened by an unexpressed sense of loss. As we delved deeper into our conversation, he confessed that intimacy had become infrequent, awkward, and sometimes emotionally painful, not due to physical discomfort, but an emotional disconnect. He felt as if he was gradually fading away from the person he once was. What Walter experienced is more prevalent than many suspect. In fact, it ranks among the most common yet ignored issues confronting men over 60, and it all begins with the flow of blood. As we age, our blood vessel walls gradually lose flexibility. The arteries become stiffer, resulting in reduced blood flow, and the smaller vessels, which keep us warm, energized, and responsive, start to constrict like aging pipes. This doesn't occur abruptly. It creeps in subtly, gradually robbing us of our vitality until we simply attribute it to aging. But it's not just a natural part of growing older. It's poor circulation, and its impacts extend beyond physical health to affect how you perceive yourself as a man, a husband, and a human being. It can leave you feeling disheartened, isolated, and questioning if your prime years are behind you. I've witnessed men second-guess themselves, evaluate their value, and even shy away from closeness, not out of indifference, but because their bodies aren't responding the way they once did, and they were never informed why. The encouraging news is this decline does not have to be a given. There are methods to enhance circulation, regain elasticity in your blood vessels, and rekindle that lost spark. Believe it or not, one of the simplest remedies I've ever recommended is likely sitting in your kitchen cabinet right now. Yes, I'm referring to baking soda, not in the conventional sense you've seen on the back of a package. Allow me to demonstrate how this unassuming household staple, when applied correctly, can begin to counteract the very process that has held you back, and why the upcoming moments might significantly alter your perception of your body going forward. If this message resonates with you and you're still tuned in, please type the number 1 in the comments. This shows me you're engaged, concerned about your health, and ready to take that next step. Now, let's dive into the second key insight: the serious ramifications of inadequate circulation. I'll always remember the day Charles became emotional in my office. At 72, he was a dignified man, always impeccably groomed, the type who would look after everyone else, his family, his neighbors, even the stray cat that appeared in his yard. But on that day, he seemed diminished somehow, not in size but emotionally. He leaned forward, lowered his voice, and said, "Doc, I don't feel like a man anymore." His tests showed normal results, and his heart rate was steady. However, I understood what the issue was. His body wasn't sending blood where it was most needed, not merely to his extremities, but to the areas linked to his self-esteem, his intimacy, and his bond with his wife. Poor circulation was not just impacting his physical health, it was subtly undermining his very identity. You see, when your circulation diminishes, it's as if the lights in your home start to fade room by room. First, it affects your energy levels. Following that, your sleep quality suffers. Eventually, it impacts your responsiveness to intimacy. This decline is not solely physical, it permeates your thoughts. Doubts begin to creep in, and you may feel a disconnect from your partner, even when they're right next to you. This gradual deterioration cannot be dismissed with a pill or brushed off as a passing phase. It necessitates comprehending what's truly happening within your body. On a medical level, it relates to your endothelial function, which is the layer lining your blood vessels. When this lining is compromised, the production of nitric oxide decreases. Without sufficient nitric oxide, your vessels are unable to expand, restricting blood flow. And who suffers the most? The smallest vessels, the very ones linked to arousal, memory, warmth, and vitality. What may begin as mild fatigue or a decreased response in the bedroom can escalate into more severe issues. It can serve as an early indicator of vascular disease, heighten the risk of stroke, and even lead to erectile dysfunction that becomes unresponsive to medication. Regrettably, many men remain unaware of these implications until they start affecting their lives in unforeseen ways. Yet here's what fills me with optimism daily. Your body possesses an innate ability to heal. Blood vessels can regain their flexibility, and nitric oxide levels can be restored naturally. You shouldn't have to depend on synthetic medications that come with side effects more alarming than the symptoms themselves. In fact, there exists an effective yet simple method to initiate this healing process, using something you've likely used throughout your life, but not in this way. When I began sharing this strategy with my older patients, numerous individuals returned to tell me, "I never thought I'd feel this way again." So let's delve into how baking soda, when used correctly, can facilitate this healing from the inside out, emphasizing it's much more than merely a home remedy. 3. Baking soda, an easily disregarded yet effective solution. I recall meeting Harold, a gentle 67-year-old retired math teacher, after he had exhausted all options. He had tried supplements, prescribed medications, and even those awkward gadgets he found on late-night television. "Nothing seems to work," he expressed while shaking his head. "It feels like I'm chasing shadows." He was weary, not only physically but also emotionally. Then I posed a question that caught him off guard. "Do you have baking soda in your kitchen?" He appeared puzzled. "You mean for cookies?" I chuckled. "Exactly, but it's not just for baking." While most people associate baking soda with keeping their fridge fresh or adding it to pancake mixes, very few know its potential benefits for the human body, especially for men battling poor circulation, and its subtle impact on their vitality, self-assurance, and connections. Baking soda, or sodium bicarbonate, isn't a magical powder. It's a basic compound that can enhance blood flow and oxygen distribution when utilized properly, which is particularly significant as we age. Here's what gives it its strength. As we grow older, our bodies often become more acidic from our diets, stress levels, and diminishing kidney function. This accumulation of acid can narrow blood vessels and limit oxygen supply, both of which are undesirable if you're already facing circulation challenges. A small dose of baking soda mixed with water at the appropriate time can help neutralize excess acidity. It gently restores the body's pH balance, enabling blood to circulate more freely. Improved circulation frequently translates to increased strength, warmth, and responsiveness, even in areas you believed could no longer benefit. I've witnessed men like Harold begin using it under supervision and experience small yet significant improvements. They enjoy greater energy in the mornings, reduced stiffness, and a renewed interest where there had once been silence. Of course, it's not a universal remedy, and it doesn't substitute for healthy lifestyle choices. But for many, it marks the start of a genuine transformation. The body begins to react positively when it receives the right support, sometimes even exceeding expectations. However, I have to be frank. What can be beneficial when approached correctly can turn harmful if done hastily, guessed at, or misapplied. This is where things can become complicated and even hazardous. Therefore, before you grab the box and start mixing, there's a crucial fact you need to understand. Let me guide you through the proper and safe use of baking soda, along with what pitfalls to avoid to ensure you don't worsen your situation while aiming for improvement. The risk of improper usage is significant. I've witnessed both the benefits and drawbacks of baking soda firsthand. It has assisted some men in regaining their vitality and self-assurance, yet it has also caused complications when it was mishandled. Take, for instance, Dennis, a 70-year-old man who was active and enjoyed golfing twice a week. He came across information online suggesting that baking soda could enhance blood circulation and thought, why not give it a try? He began taking a teaspoon in the morning and another at night, mistakenly believing that increasing the dosage would yield quicker results. Within a week, he found himself bloated, his blood pressure soared, and he had to visit the emergency room due to heart palpitations and confusion. His kidneys, already strained from years of unnoticed stress, could not cope with the excess. The truth is, baking soda itself is not inherently dangerous, but it becomes risky when individuals treat it like a simple remedy without grasping how it operates. Unlike a vitamin, it is a potent compound that influences your body's internal chemistry, notably your pH levels, fluid balance, and sodium intake. For older adults, particularly those on blood pressure medications or with kidney sensitivities, this balance is precarious. At this stage in life, the body functions like a finely tuned machine. Excess sodium, even from an otherwise harmless source like baking soda, can disrupt your heart rhythm, create swelling, or elevate your blood pressure to dangerously high levels. I've had to clarify this for several patients who truly had good intentions. They simply wanted to regain their vitality, yet they underestimated the repercussions of making assumptions. The encouraging news is that these dangers can be entirely avoided if you apply the approach correctly. And using it correctly isn't solely about opting for a smaller measuring spoon. It involves the right timing for hydration, a clear understanding of your medications, and being observant of how your body reacts. It includes asking the crucial questions, being patient for results, and collaborating with your body, not fighting against it. I often remind my patients that just because something is natural, it doesn't inherently mean it's safe in any quantity. Water is natural, but consumed too much too quickly, and it can still be harmful. Baking soda can facilitate genuine healing, but only when used thoughtfully, with care, and preferably under supervision. If you're still engaged, I understand you're not in search of a quick fix. You're seeking an effective solution that allows you to feel like your true self without jeopardizing your health. So let me guide you on how to approach this correctly. In a moment, I'll detail the precise method I employ with my own patients, covering safe timing, the appropriate dosage, and a crucial tip that can significantly enhance the process. When I discuss baking soda with my patients, their frequent inquiry is nearly identical. All right, doctor, how do I actually utilize it? It's indeed the right question, as we've established that the distinction between aiding your body and causing harm hinges on the method. For most generally healthy adults aged 60 and above, the safest initiation is just a quarter teaspoon of baking soda mixed into a full glass of water on an empty stomach. Ideally, this should be done first thing in the morning, not after meals, not right before sleep, and absolutely not multiple times throughout the day, just once. That might seem minimal, but believe me, in terms of maintaining your internal equilibrium, less truly can be more. I recall one of my patients, Ray, who was 74 and facing afternoon energy dips along with circulation problems that made even brief walks feel laborious. We initiated that straightforward protocol. A quarter teaspoon every morning on an empty stomach, mixed into a full glass of water. Within 3 weeks, he remarked, "I don't know what you've done, doc, but I feel clearer, steadier, and my hands aren't freezing anymore." Now, there's a crucial aspect many overlook: hydration. Baking soda is most effective when your body is adequately hydrated, meaning you need to consume water throughout the day, rather than solely when you're thirsty. With proper hydration, your blood circulation enhances, oxygen flow improves, and your organs, including those that influence intimacy, function more efficiently. Therefore, consider baking soda not just on its own, but rather as part of a broader transformation in how you care for your body. Additionally, if you're taking any medications, particularly for high blood pressure, heart, or kidney conditions, it's essential to consult your doctor beforehand. This isn't about inciting fear, it's about showing respect. Your body has experienced many years of life, and it merits attentive care. You wouldn't operate a classic car without first inspecting the engine, would you? Approach your health in the same manner. Most men aren't seeking miracles. They simply require one small victory to foster hope, one constructive change that reassures them. You're not finished, you're not defective, you're still in there. This straightforward daily routine could be the catalyst for that transformation. If any of this resonates with you, please hang on for a bit longer, as I'll soon share the story of a 76-year-old man who employed this very method, along with one minor addition that elevated his outcomes to an entirely new dimension. You won't want to miss what's next. Now there's someone named Frank who frequently comes to mind. He was 76, widowed, and a man of few words, speaking only when he had something significant to convey. He reached out to me after hearing about baking soda from a mutual acquaintance. His goal wasn't to find a miracle solution. He simply wanted to reconnect with himself, feel more vibrant, and perhaps even open up to the idea of new relationships. We started him on the same regimen I previously mentioned, a modest amount of baking soda in the morning, ensuring adequate hydration while being observant of his body's reactions. However, he incorporated one crucial element that made all the difference: consistency. He didn't just mix it up once and forget about it. He adhered to the routine. He allowed his body the necessary time to adjust. After a few weeks, while the changes were not overly dramatic, they were certainly consistent. He noticed increased warmth in his hands, improved sleep, and greater engagement in conversations. Then, with a slight grin, he remarked, "I never thought I would experience this kind of connection again. Yet here I am." What I've shared with you might seem straightforward, but it's essential not to overlook its strength. We've discussed how inadequate circulation quietly impacts millions of men over 60, how it drains energy, diminishes intimacy, and creates the illusion that your best days are behind you. We've also reviewed how, when applied correctly, baking soda can aid in restoring homeostasis within the body, enhance blood circulation, and rejuvenate areas that have felt dormant or muted for too long. We've reiterated that this is not about instant fixes, but rather providing your body with the necessary support through care, patience, and consideration. If you find yourself feeling fatigued, disengaged, or perhaps even a bit desperate about what you've started to lose, I want you to understand this: it's not too late. The potential for recovery still exists within you. Your body hasn't surrendered, it's merely been waiting for you to pay attention. So perhaps this minor adjustment could be your starting point. One glass, one habit, one quiet choice to prioritize your health, energy, and self-assurance, not someday, but today. Because you're not finished yet, you still hold value, and there is more life to embrace.